Hello, this is Max Rake. I want to talk about this app, Grocer app. It's an app in New Zealand, and there's three main supermarkets here. There's Countdown New World and Pack and Save. Pack and Save New World are owned by the same company. Anyway, there's a list of all of the shops up and down the country. You can select some and actually have them as favourites. So therefore, you've got the shops that you can go to. We can either go into the shop and actually scan for a particular item, or we can go and search on it through here. So I'm just going to use chicken breasts as an example. So this one here, if I click on this one, it's only been sold in one shop, which is the New World in Newtown. So I'm just going to add that to my list. The second one is Countdown New World, which is called Chicken Breast Meat Skinless, that one, and this one's Chicken Breast Skinless Bones. Now this is in Kilburnie, so this one I'm just going to add it to my list through here. And then further down here there's another one called Skinless Chicken Breast. So this one starts with an S, bear that in mind. And this one's been sold in Newtown, and it's also been sold in Kilburnie, so we can click on that one as well. So we've got the same thing, but it's been named different things at different places. When we add those, we can add them to this list. Now you see, when they're added to the list, I did add them all at the same time. They're sort of not in order. This one here, Skinless, ends up being higher up than the other ones, and this is to do with the IDs that all of these items actually have. So what we can actually do is we can go into the print view and we can show the print price, and so we have each item, and then we then have a whole load of rows of each particular supermarket that we've chosen to look at with its list. So when we come down here, it's quite a long list and it's kind of hard to compare things. So I thought, can I take this data and can I rotate it so that I actually have the name of the item, and then I actually have columns with all of the shops that I'm interested in. So I thought, oh well, let's do that. So first of all, can I get that data? So if we just go Control-Shift-C and we come into the developers console through here, we're going to go into the network one and we're going to refresh the page. And we've actually only got the XHR on. If I got all, we're going to get, if I go to all, we'll get all the JavaScript and the CSS and all the rest of it. We actually only want the JSON return. So this one has one called 145. And if we go to the headers, we see it's a GET request. So if we come to JSON, click on that and the headers, GET request, we can now copy that URL and we can go and paste it directly in, and we suddenly see all of the elements and all of the items. So if we see that in raw data, and I'm going to copy that, and this is a JSON to CSV converter. So I'm just going to paste that into there, and here's a list of those items. So we got the ID, we got the name, we then got each store. So this one's Kilburnie, and then this one's Newtown, and this is New World Newtown, and this one's whatever. So we got all the 6 stores that we've actually got list with prices for some of them, and some of them have got things like multi-buys and this and that and the other that I'm not particularly interested in. So we've got the data through here. So we can take that data now, and we can take that URL and we can actually do something with that. So what we'll do is we'll take that URL through there, and we'll so after we do a request on that item, we can actually see what the data looks like. So we're just going to put it into a data frame, and then we're going to write it out to a CSV just to look at it, and then we're going to try and convert it so that it looks a bit clearer. So we're going to run this script now and run that one. Save, run, get on with you. It should do a little bit of printing and stuff like that. So it creates a long list, and if we go through, this is how the list comes out. So the list comes out of each, it's going through first of all and getting the first ID or the first item, and then it's going through each particular shop and getting its price, and then it's going through the next item and then going through each shop with the same ID to get the price, then it's going through the next item through there. So it's ended up making all this list. Now, one of the things which I found when I was doing this and trying to do some conversion and stuff like that was that you can get a product with the same name. So if we go through, you see the brown is the green is the ID, then the brown is the name, then the brand is the blue, cyan, and then you've got that pale green, and then you've got a dark green for the size. The problem is that you can have a thing called baked beans, and then you can have another one called baked beans. So this one's baked beans, and it's by a company called What Is, and this one's a baked beans by Heinz, and this one's a baked bean by a thing. So what I was actually finding is when I was actually pulling this data in, it was suddenly saying duplicates, break, because there isn't. So I ended up having to concatenate all of this into one word. So my item is not lettuce traditional iceberg, it's lettuce traditional iceberg, fresh vegetables each. And the next one is tuna chunks in spring water, Pam's each $4.25. So I've joined all of those together so that I get unique IDs for all of them. Because once we've got this is a meaningless, it's just a number, it doesn't mean anything. So it's a bit of a pain because we're dealing with these. So we're going and getting these product IDs. So if we look at our URL for those ones through there, and if we just grab that, copy, and bring it in to a text file, and bring it in, you'll see, now we've got to come del, and we've got products, and then another product, and then another product, and then another product, and then another product, and then suddenly at the very end we got and store, and store, and store, and store, and so we've got a whole list of products. So therefore, as long as we get the structure with this bit at the front end, so it just says HTTPS backing gross NZ products question mark, and then the first one says products, and then after that it's and products all the way through, and then we link it through to the stores, so we can actually take that ID and strip it around, which we'll think about using later. But anyway, this one here, we punch it into here, and we can then take that URL, do all of these wonderful things, and we can pivot it around. Sorry, I was in that part of the story through there. So we can pivot this information around and convert it into this. So we now have our item, apples, and then we've actually got the headers, which are all of the shops, and then we've got their prices so that we can compare. So when we look at that in a PDF, oops, sorry, wrong one. Look at that in a PDF. Here we have all of our items. So we've got all of our different stores at the top, and we've got our items through here. The issue which I had with this when I first did it is that when it does the pivot, which has the index, so the row on the left-hand side is the item, the columns are the store names, and the values inside the matrix are the prices. So when we get that through there, what it does is it orders it alphabetically. So that's not very good. Like here I've got some eggs under B, I've then got some eggs under C called capital eggs, just because it's the brand name, and right down the bottom I've got some other ones. So it's very hard to compare these ones, although these ones blank through here, with ones at the top. So how do you judge them by? You've got to jump up and down the sheet all the time to actually see where they are. So this was an issue with classification. Now, I think it was because of the pivoting and the way that the pivoting's done. Now, I did look at, when I was kind of looking at this thing, and I suddenly said, well, if you're going to pivot it, how do you categorize things? And it said, well, actually, you can use this pandas categorical to actually say how you want to structure the information that comes out. And I tried that, and it didn't really work, and I wasn't that happy with it because of the fact that, you know, I might add or subtract things from lists. So if I'd hard-coded this in here, this could fail. So I sort of moved away from there, and I started to think about the structure of the URL. So when I went back and looked at the URL, I suddenly thought, well, all it's got is a list of products. So what's stopping me from doing little subgroups? So I can have a subgroup to do with dog food, or I can have one to do with fluids like coffees and cordials and that sort of thing. Then I can have one to do with fresh vegetables. So why don't I can find all the products that I want to know, I can classify them into different groups, and then I can create my own URL. All I need to do is stick this at the front, and then a list of all the shops at the stores or the shops at the back, and then just put the products that I want in between, and then just group them all together. So I thought, oh, that's quite good. And the nice thing with that is that if I get all of these products from a list, I can add or subtract from that list. So there's a nice thing. So the first thing I did was I thought, well, that's really exciting. So let's download the entire CSV. So what I ended up doing was going into Grotus, making a really long list of all the things that I was interested in here, and then bringing it into here and downloading the CSV. Now this is something that caught me out. So it's written as a CSV, but I'm going to now open it, and it's going to open as Excel. I'm just going to close that old one away. So what happens when I open it up in Excel, no, we keep it small, you'll see that the actual ID column comes through and is converted it into scientific format. Now, if I convert it into numbers, it's going to give me a couple of decimal points that I can get rid of here. But look at these numbers through here. The first one is 15 digits long. So if I count that through to there, it's 14. All these other ones are 15 digits long. Now the one which is 14 digits, the last digit is a 0, so it goes 80. Now for all of the ones following, which are 16 digits, in fact, what it's done is it's rounded up the very last digit as a 0. So this one, the first one here, says that it's 67, this says 60, this one says 412, and it actually has 410, and this one's 44116, and it's 4410. So when I tried using Excel to sort all of the different things into different categories or grouping that I wanted, when I started to make API calls, they just didn't work at all. It was absolutely frustrating. So I ended up having to write a little script. I asked Bing Baby to do that for me, that would take the CSV file, a results one, whatever one it is through here, and then what I wanted back was a list of the items that I wanted so that I could break it into subgroups. So on this one here, if I just run this one through here and then go and look at my GXS CSV, you see I've broken it down. Now I had that long list, which was like this, with all of these headers and stuff that I didn't really want. All I wanted was just the ID and the name. So if I wanted to subtract or add one to my list, I could just find its information and just add it on there. So that's very quickly able to do. So I'm able to split my lists up. So if I wanted this one to suddenly saying, okay, then I want one group that's just got these frozen bits here, and I've got this other group which is a bit fresher, I can have these into two separate files and have them that way, which is what I've done. So I've created one called Just Food, or just one which is just to do with the food for my dog, one which is just general for me, one which is to do with all the liquids, etc., etc., etc. And then I just close these ones here out, don't save, and I then call all of them in. So I actually call each one in and create a URL. Now I need this at the front end of the URL, and I need the stores, so the list of the stores at the back URL, and this one, whatever my list of items are, it will take the ID of each one and concatenate them all together. So it's then building from scratch the URLs that I want. So therefore I can easily add and subtract things from those lists to vary depending on what I'm particularly interested in with those. So once I can do that, I can actually break that down. So once I do that, I then go through and do the pivot on all of those separate subgroups themselves, and then also just add a header in between them. So if I just run this one here and run that, the first thing which we'll get coming through, something didn't happen there, save and run, is we're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different URLs. And if I just grab one of those URLs, I've got too much of it, sorry, let's jump back out again. Let's just go back and grab one of those URLs. So this one here is the last one, so it should be the one to do with vegetables. So if I just go into there and go into there and go into raw data, copy and go into there. This one here is to do with show all 9 rows, all the vegetables at the bottom. So therefore I built up from the list of the items that I want in a specific group, those items through there. So now at the end of that, I will now get another PDF that now has a header just called, I didn't make it too fancy, I just wanted it, so it's in a row, but it's to do with all the dog foods to begin with. And then the second one's got general information, things that I'm interested in going through. Third one's coffee and grog and drinks. And the fourth one is eggs. And the last one is fresh vegetables. So in this one here, because they're comparison across all of the tables, things like the vegetables are quite good because they are all called the same thing, you know. So and one particular one on here was avocados, and they were on special in this one shop through here, so they were 60 cents, and across the other way they're almost 4 times the price. So this is quite a good way of roughly seeing where you're getting good value or where you can actually get opportunities and stuff like that. So here this is 99 cents for that, and that's $3 for carrots at another place. So you can suddenly say, well, I'll be a bit more selective of where I purchase some things and other things as well. So we've taken an app that's sort of useful in its way, and I think it's about 80% there myself. The grocer's one, but I can now make it a lot more useful for me personally. So we've taken a general app that's also got the list that you can actually personalize it to a bit, and we've made it more personalized for the ones that I actually want, and I'm now able to actually go through and add items to a list or subtract items from the list. The other nice thing with the feature that I was wondering about how to do is if I'm on my mobile app, because I'm on my PC, I can actually go in to see the developers tools and actually get the URL for all of the items that I want if I refresh through there and get the get request that we want. So that's the get request that we want to get through there. I can't do that on the mobile, but if I scan something on the mobile and add it to my list, I can then take a screenshot of that list so that I can do a lookup of those items that I may want to add onto the one that I need to do on the PC. So we've now got the list. Now how do I actually access that list? So what I've done is the third step in the process at this point in time is that I've just added an email. So send me an email at the end of it once we've actually done it, and then I put this on a task manager on my server, so at 5 o'clock every morning it just sends me an email. So I've got that ready to go. So if I suddenly think, oh, I've got to do some shopping today, I've got that list of items of which I've concerned. If I suddenly think, oh, I need to add a few more items to that list or take some off, I can go and do that adaptation later on. So we've turned it into something, and this is what I'm sort of focusing on. How can I personalise the information so it's useful to me personally? So I'm quite pleased with this one. It took a few more steps than what I thought. I thought, oh, that would be quite an easy one. But the Excel stuff caught me out quite a lot because I usually use Excel to actually do a lot of sorting or splitting, so I end up doing my grouping and things like that. But when I was actually just getting poor information out, it was a bit of a pain. And then the next time I did the iteration after I did it, I suddenly thought I was getting the codes, but the names were in a different file, and I suddenly thought, no, I actually want the ID and I want the associated item with it, because on this particular one, I think with the eggs, the natural SPCA range ones are no longer working. There's just 0. If we just look at that in our current one through there, and we look at eggs, the natural SPCA ones, there's nothing there. So we can now go through and take that from that part of the list, so wherever that one there was, eggs, and we can just delete that because it's not useful, it's not doing anything for me. So it's quickly you can restructure this. But generally, one of the other things that's quite important to me on this one as well is the dog bones. My dog loves having a bone to chew in the afternoon, and I think they're very healthy for their gums and their teeth. So but finding out where to get them, and if we just go and look on this one here, you'll see for the frozen bones it's only in one shop, and this one's the most farthest away shop. These other ones actually have bones only in these particular supermarkets, and they've got the pork bones as well. So there's a real shortage of actually things like that. So being able to identify where I can actually pick those up is quite convenient. Again, we've got another one through here, which is the free-range chicken drumsticks that's gone through completely empty. So I can go into that part of the list with the Jess Kai, and we can say, what are their free-range drumsticks? They're not necessary. Delete, save. So when I run this next time, that empty column won't be there at all. So I hope you found that of interest. I think that at this point in time, I think they were saying, I think costs have gone up by about 12.5% this year. So it's a thing where people are a bit more conscious with this. This tool here can be adapted to other people for if they've they just need their own list of supermarkets and get the IDs of the supermarkets that they actually need from their favourites and stuff like that, plug those in, plug the items that they want in, and get that list of items that they need to do. So I'll put this code up as normal so other people may be interested in it. This is from New Zealand in the way that this one works, but it's also it's nice. It's only scraping one site to get the data, and the data's in the same data structure, so you can manipulate it all in the same way. Whereas if you were actually scraping something like from Walmart's to Amazon to this one to that one, reorganizing your data is a bit more time consuming. So this one I suddenly thought it's a small simple thing that is kind of practical for me. It's usable, so therefore I'm quite keen to do it. So if you found it useful, thumbs up. The code will be up there for you to use. Thank you.